Welcome back to my nightmare. Hello. So I'm back with 2 more chapters from Seems a Bit Queer, which is a book that I wrote. If you don't know what it is, please go back and watch chapters 1 and 2. We're about to do chapters 3 and 4. Hold on, let me just check. 3 and 4. Fairly short. Okay, we can get through 3 and we can get through chapters 3 and 4 today, I think. So, trigger warnings. Obviously, this book features a not very nice guy, and these books are very short. So, while some other things might explore stuff in some detail, like transphobia, these are very short. They're compact stories, and that's how they're supposed to be, but they will like mention stuff and then just not explain it. So, just going to let you know that now. Also, this was the first book in my series, and it was released in fall of 2022. So some of it was talking about like the lockdown and the pandemic, because that was still like really heavily on my mind. So if you are not into mentions of COVID-19 in your love stories, because this is about 2 roommates who fall in love as they're like coming out of lockdown, then just pass on by. Nobody's forcing you to watch this. If they are, blink twice. I'll send some ransom. That's a joke. I don't have any money. I'm not paying your ransom. Anyway, so here's chapters 3 and 4 of Seems a Bit Queer. Oh, the vibes, real quick. I am house sitting for a friend, so I'm sitting at her kitchen table. The vibes that I'm giving right now are you are sitting with me in my kitchen, and we are reading stories together. I have my hot beverage right here. It is coffee, possibly from Devil's Stomping Grounds, the totally fictional coffee shop in my book. But if you hear dogs barking, if you hear a lawnmower, if you hear trucks, I'm in someone's house. So this isn't like a recording booth. This isn't like an official audiobook. I'm just sitting in my friend's kitchen reading you a story, which is really cozy and sweet if you think about it. Seems a Bit Queer by Avery Morstan, Chapter 3. Another afternoon of staring at the ceiling and listening to the lovebirds bicker, Cam thought bitterly. She couldn't quite make out what they were saying, but the walls hadn't grown any thicker, so the tone of the words was definitely coming through loud and clear. Although despite Scarlett's best shushing efforts, they were getting increasingly louder, so Cam was probably going to hear some of it. She'd probably be able to hear all of it if she just pressed her ear against the door like a normal nosy person. But no, she was laying on her bed, listening to the 2 of them argue, wishing she was literally doing anything else. Maybe she should just put some earbuds in, give them some privacy. Cam wondered when everything had become earbuds. Instinctively, she still called them headphones because that had been what she called them when she was younger. Cam's family had been loud, and she'd used her tape player and the headphones that came with it, purchased at the local dollar store for $5, to drown out the noise. The best of the 60s girl band tape that her grandma had gotten for free at the gas station was worn to nothing by the time tape players moved out and CD players were all the rage. Whether it had been loving or fighting, Cam's family had been a lot of drama, and they never quite learned to regulate their voices to an inside volume. Her body still tensed when there was a lot of shouting, and she instinctively wanted to crawl under the bed and hide. She'd spent a lot of afternoons down there, headphones on, devouring books while her brothers had played too loud or her parents fought, and consequently made up. So she was used to having to wait out a fight. Babe, I don't even see what the big damn deal is. Kyle's voice always made Cam a little uncomfortable, though. It was the vocal manspread of it, the way that he ignored that this wasn't his house to boom and bellow, whether happy or sad or hungry, and it always caused her stomach to flip. The big deal is you ruined something I was working on, something that mattered to me, and you don't understand why that's a problem. Why are you even mad? It's just an ugly dress. Cam sat up and slid off her bed, her bare feet barely making a sound as she crept towards the door. Maybe a little eavesdropping would be okay after all. What the fuck did he do? They're not ugly, Scarlett said angrily. Kyle made that weird ing noise in the back of his throat. That guttural, dismissive, not quite a laugh that people made when they were being patronizing. I guess beauty is in the eye of the beholder. They're moo-moos made out of old bed sheets. They're the ugliest thing I've ever seen, Kyle snapped. It's so embarrassing to be seen with you. You know that? Cam's fingers clawed down the door as her blood started to simmer. What the actual fuck was he talking about? Scarlett looked adorable in her dresses, and she was so happy making them. Kyle, someone bought this from me. You ruined an order for a client. Scarlett, wake up. You're not going to be a fashion designer making old curtains into shapeless tents, Kyle bellowed. Cam was about to wrench the door open and yell at him, but Scarlett was already biting back with, Are you going to be some big gamer? You going to make $1 million playing some gross apocalypse wet dream with all your gamer bros while you ignore the actual problems happening in the real world? Scarlett's voice was thick and wobbly in a way that said she was about to cry angry tears. Not if the fucking dust and thread from your fabric hoard and your stupid hobbies messing up my computers. And I just pulled a pin out of the blankets last night, so maybe I'm doing you a favor since you can't be trusted to look after yourself, Kyle sneered. Cameron's nostrils flared. Get out, Kyle. I don't want to talk to you anymore, Scarlett snapped. Take your computer and go home to your parents. I have rent to make and you just set me back. Cam cheered, but this wasn't the first big fight they'd had. Kyle would probably be gone in a week, and then he'd be right back to hogging the couch and eating all their food. Still, what a blessedly silent week it would be. The fuck, Scarlett? You heard me. Get out. Oh, why? So you can make kissy faces at your dyke roommate? Oh, Cameron. Cam's blood was sizzling in her veins as she wrenched the door open. By the look on both their faces, neither one of them expected her to be standing so close. Scarlett's door had been open, and Cam could see Kyle looming over her with his arms crossed over his chest, like he was trying to intimidate her with the fact that he was so much bigger than her. Cam had 2 seconds to take in the sight before her, for Kyle to see the murderous expression on her face, before Scarlett spoke in a low, commanding voice. Get out, Kyle. His mouth opened like he was going to continue to argue with her, but with the pair of women glaring at him, he conceded defeat for the moment. He started stuffing his things in a bag, all his gaming toys, his headphones, his laptop, and then he went for the front door. When he brushed past Scarlett, Cam was pretty sure he knocked her on with his arm on purpose. Scarlett just stared after him in an angry silence. Cam wondered if she should close the door again and give them more privacy, but she also didn't want to leave her roommate alone with this douche canoe. I'll call you, Kyle said as he headed for the door, and it sounded like a threat. Don't bother, Scarlett shot back. The front door made a loud slam as he closed behind him, and then they were finally alone. Which was good, because Scarlett was going to pieces. She flung herself towards Cameron, and Cam wrapped her up in the tightest hug she could manage and rocked her as she cried. It's okay, honey. It's okay, Cam murmured. The honey just slipped out, and Cam blushed over it, but Scarlett didn't seem to notice. He sabotaged my machine, Scarlett complained as she cried. I knew he didn't like my sewing, but to just mess it up like that, and I can't get it to work, and he ripped a hole in one of the sleeves. We'll work it out. We'll figure out a way to get it fixed, okay? Cam asked. She pulled back so she could look at Scarlett's face, which was flushed and warm. She wiped the tears from Scarlett's cheeks. It's going to work out. It's just, I would never, Scarlett choked. And he just laughed like it was nothing. She leaned back forward, burying her face against Cam's shoulder. The way she squeezed Cam so tight, the way it felt, was incredible, which Cam felt immediately guilty about. But God, their bodies fit together really nicely. I know, you're a good partner to him. Look, it's still early. Maybe that place on 4th Street is open, Cam said, swallowing hard as the scent of Scarlett's hair filled her nose. You go pack up Ruby, and I'll give them a call, okay? Okay, Scarlett managed. She gave Cam a watery smile. I can't work on my stuff tonight. That's okay. I think we need a movie night anyway. I have a massive deficiency in vitamin popcorn, Cam teased. She shoved her hands in her pockets and shrugged her shoulders upward. Maybe we could watch that Marilyn movie you've been trying to show me. The gay one. Oh, God. Marilyn is so... Scarlett scrunched up her face as she trailed off, and Cam couldn't have been more smitten. So are you, Cam thought. It was my queer awakening, Scarlett continued as she bent to unplug the machine from the wall outlet. Cam's brows knit together. That was new. They'd lived together for a while now, through a whole pandemic, and she had no idea Scarlett was anything other than straight. Jack Lemmon's character and his little old lover boy is my favorite part. Okay, so here's what we do. You pack up Ruby, and I'll call the repair people, Cam said as she needed to remind herself of exactly what she was supposed to be doing instead of watching Scarlett's fine ass in those handmade jeans. And then we'll stop over at Devil's to get some coffee. Then we'll come out here, we'll get in our PJs, and we'll watch movies all night. Maybe we'll even get plastered. Cuddle puddle on your bed? Scarlett asked, turning her wide, pleading eyes on Cam. Cam grinned. Of course. According to the repair place, Ruby would not be ready until later in the week. Scarlett's feet dragged as they walked back towards Devil's Stomping Ground. Keita was on shift by then, and she leaned over the counter to whisper to Cam, Yo, what's wrong with your girlfriend? She's not my girlfriend, Cam mumbled back through her mask. She glanced over her shoulder at Scarlett, sitting down at one of the tables, looking dejected. Her eyes were still puffy and crying and red around the edges. I think she broke up with her boyfriend. Okay, Keita said, dragging the word out until it had 3 extra syllables. So what's wrong with your future girlfriend? Shh! Don't let her hear you say that, Cam snapped quietly. Keita pursed her lips and gave Cam a look that definitely showed which of the two of them would win in a fight. Look, that guy was a fucking asshole today, Keita said as she began to pull the drinks. She filled the to-go cups full of ice, and Cam had a momentary hope of Keita launching at her to cool her down. No such luck. He was, but that doesn't mean she's going to be my girlfriend, Cameron said. Keita frowned. Why not? Because it just doesn't, Cameron replied. Keita rolled her eyes. Look, I'm not the relationship advice person, but I can tell you don't wait. Sometimes these asshole guys, they can be sticky like simple syrup, and it's easy to get sucked back in. Keita took Cameron's money from her. I don't want to give him a chance to get his mitts back into her. I don't give a fuck about you. Shut up, Cameron said with a laugh. Keita smiled. But she deserves the sweet care that's written all over your face every time you're near her, Keita said. Sounds suspiciously like relationship advice, Cameron commented, and Keita almost threw a napkin at her. Maybe I'll ask her out, and then you'll be sorry. Cameron laughed, and then she straightened and looked afraid. No, don't. Please don't. Keita gave her a secretive smile. Guess you better get on it then. It was too hot and humid to sit outside, so Scarlett had found one of the most socially distanced tables in the back of the cafe. She was curled towards the wall, but she smiled when Cam approached. Here you go, Cameron said, handing Scarlett her iced Americano. Thanks, she murmured. You're a good friend, Cameron. Cam's lips twitched as she replied, Thanks. I try. Well, you succeed, Scarlett said. She was too pink and her forehead was a little damp, but Cam assumed it was from walking back on such a warm afternoon. Cam reached down to grab her hand and pulled her to her feet. Come on, let's go get the popcorn cuddle puddle started. I can already taste the popcorn, Cam said. Scarlett winced, but she didn't let go of Cam's hand. We'll have to stop at the store. I think Kyle might have eaten yours, Scarlett told her. Cam rolled her eyes. Of course he fucking did. Chapter 4. Jack Lemmon was on a boat in the middle of the ocean, and he was objecting to his lover's proposal loudly enough that it woke Cameron. She inhaled through her nose, her eyes squinting at the laptop screen, and gave a little grunt. Osgood had proposed to his girlfriend, who turned out to be a man, and in the most iconic proposal of movie history, he just accepted it. No one is perfect, Cam thought to herself as Jack smiled blithely. They were literally riding off into the sunset, and it warmed Cam from the inside out. Love didn't have to be that hard. It could just be. I'm glad he got a happy ending, Cam said out loud, her voice rough with sleep. There was no reply, but maybe Scarlett was just as bleary as she was. As the credits rolled, she realized she was warm, and her limbs were weighted down by something heavier than a blanket. Pinned in place, she glanced down. So maybe Scarlett was asleep on Cam. Somewhere during the film, Scarlett had nuzzled close, practically burrowing her face in Cam's neck. Her red hair was everywhere, reminding Cam of a mermaid under the ocean, fluffing out in a messy cloud. A possessive arm cuddled Cam. A possessive arm cuddled Cam like a teddy bear, pulling her close so their bodies were slotted together. Cam's arm was wrapped around Scarlett's waist, and she grinned and tugged the other girl closer. She reached over to her nightstand to grab her phone, lifting it up so she could take a selfie. She wondered if she should feel guilty, but if she forwarded a copy to Scarlett too, it wouldn't be weird, right? Scarlett's phone buzzed from somewhere in the room as Cam forwarded her a copy of the pic. Hopefully, that didn't make it weirder. But she just looks so cute. She probably should have woken Scarlett up instead of taking pictures of her like a weirdo, but she was warm and sleepy, and she just couldn't bring herself to care. She put her phone down, let out a long breath, and wrapped her arm tighter around Scarlett. Curled up in their warm little nest, Cam drifted back to sleep, feeling something just next to happy. Cam woke up to several things happening all at once. The first thing was the shouting. There was a loud, angry voice screaming from somewhere in the building. It was muffled, but it was loud, and it was calling Scarlett's name. Oh, for fuck's sake, Kyle, have some dignity. The second thing, which Cam wished she could have registered as the first thing, but Kyle was taking up too much space, as usual, was that she was alone in bed. Her fingers reached out to grip the sheets where Scarlett had been curled. She could smell the familiar shampoo scent lingering on her pillow. That wasn't weird, right? That she knew Scarlett's shampoo? She'd had to borrow it once or twice when she'd run out, although she tried not to because what was formulated for Scarlett's thick curling strands did not work on Cam's fine stringy mess. It always made her too greasy. Kyle's fist pounded on the front door, bringing Cam's scattered thoughts back to the first thing. What number of things were they up to? Oh, number 3. The third thing Cam became aware of was the distinct smell of burnt breakfast in the air. Oh, shit. Scarlett couldn't cook to save her life. Cam's feet hit the rug, and she was out of her bedroom as quick as she could move, leaving the warm sheets and the soft scents for later reflection. Scarlett, get your ass out here and explain yourself. Give it the fuck up, Kyle. You lost, Cameron thought as she went towards the kitchen. It was a disaster, but nothing was on fire this time, so Cam wouldn't have to call Mr. Swee and explain why the downstairs couple was upset about smoke. There was an open egg carton on the counter, half filled with empty shells, half filled with whole eggs. There was flour all over the counters and some on the floors. There was coffee, thank God, and a stack of pancakes that was on one of their cheap china plates that didn't look too bad. The bacon, though, that was a lost cause. Oh, Cam, you're awake, Scarlett said, whirling to give Cam a wildly manic smile. Cam's brows knit together. Yeah, you okay? Cam crossed her arms over her chest, her heart racing as the thumping on their door continued. Something you want to talk about? Okay, so promise you won't be mad, Scarlett said as she turned back to the stove to flip the last pancake. I just wanted to do something nice for you, so I thought I'd make you breakfast because, you've been so nice to me. I thought we could eat and maybe walk down to the farmer's market or something because you like to support local businesses, Scarlett, Cam said, her low tone almost a warning. Okay, so I might have posted that picture of the two of us to the grams, okay? I know it was rotten and I shouldn't have done it without asking you first, but it was just so cute, and my followers know that you're helping me out, and I thought they'd eat it right up, Scarlett said, her words a fast jumble as she spoke. She turned off the burner and faced Cam again. God, there was flour in her hair and on her nose. Cam licked her lips. Great. So your followers saw a picture of us. Cam's brain finally caught up. Oh. Yeah. Oh. Kyle also saw, Cam guessed. She guessed correctly if the guilty expression crossing Scarlett's face was anything to go off of. Sort of. Yes. And he's mad. Are you two... Cam winced as Kyle called Scarlett's name again. Are you two thinking of getting back together? Fuck no, Scarlett said quickly. Could you imagine? It's just that he's here now, and I want him to leave, so I've been ignoring him. Scarlett, I can hear you. I can hear you too, you jackass. I will call the cops on you, Cameron shouted back, her eyes never leaving Scarlett's pained expression. She raised her eyebrows. You were saying? Well, it was a really cute picture. I really liked it, Scarlett explained. So I might have posted it on my socials a bit, okay, on like every account. Cameron's jaw dropped. Everywhere. Even, Scarlett nodded, even there. I just decided, some things are worth it, and I really, really loved the picture and everything we did, really. I should have asked, I know, but I thought if he thought I moved on, maybe he'd stop DMing me too. Cameron's heart sank. Of course, Scarlett only posted because she wanted Kyle to leave her alone, and guys like Kyle wouldn't take something like their ex-girlfriend entering a queer relationship well. Step away now, Cameron. Let Scarlett be a big girl and clear up her own damn messes. We're going to need to have a super long talk about this, Cameron said. But the pounding was persistent. But first, what are we going to do about him? You could call the cops. We asked him to leave us alone and he's still going at it, Scarlett suggested. You could call the cops, Cameron replied. Scarlett nodded. I meant that. I'm sorry, Cameron. I really don't want to put you in a place where you're fixing problems for me. It's just we're here together, and I guess I dragged you into this. I'm sorry. I don't want you to be in the middle, Scarlett said. Well, I'm in the middle now, Scarlett, Cameron said. Scarlett! Oh, fuck this shit, Cam growled as she stepped over to yank the door open. She glared at the man in question, making sure to blink up at him innocently. What's up, Kyle? Move out of the way. I want to talk to Scarlett, Kyle demanded, and he started to push forward. She's calling the cops, just like I said she would. And then she's calling our landlord, and we're filing so many reports against you, including a restraining order, Cameron told him. She angled the door again, trying to keep him out, and used her full body to block the narrow space she allowed herself to look out of. Scarlett came to stand next to her, nibbling on her nails, but helping to act as a doorstop so he couldn't push his whole way inside the apartment. Kyle fumed. Cam hadn't noticed until this very moment how much like a bull he looked. His nostrils were flared out and his eyes were wide with anger. I told you to get out of my way. And I told you to get out of my apartment. A lot. So maybe do that, Cam suggested in a cheerful, helpful tone. She risked a glance at Scarlett, who pretended to be on the phone. Yes, hello, Scarlett said. I'd like to report someone trespassing and threatening my girlfriend. Cameron tried her very best to ignore the word girlfriend. Remember, Cam, it was all part of the show. She looked back at Kyle, letting her lips curve into a smug smile. See? She's calling the cops. In Quaint City, Kyle sneered. He dropped his arms to cross them over his chest, apparently having decided that it was his turn to look smug. Yeah, sure, the cops here don't really care about queers. Maybe the cops you talk to haven't, Cam said. It was kind of sad, because she knew he wasn't wrong. In an emergency, she probably wouldn't have relied on some of the townies of Quaint City to come to her defense, but she was willing to believe he would go without too much of an argument. Yeah, he's banging down the door and he won't leave, Scarlett said as she attempted to continue pretending with the conversation. How quickly can you be here? We're worried he's going to harm himself or someone else. Scarlett, that's some bullshit, Kyle said. His fingers reached out and slammed the door again. If it hadn't been for both of their bodies holding him fast, he probably would have managed to burst in, but they managed to keep him out. Sadly, Scarlett's head got knocked against the wood in the process. Kyle, I'd go if I were you before you have to appear in court, Cam said. She picked up her foot and stamped it hard on his. She knew it wasn't hard enough to break his toes, but a girl could wish. Kyle seemed to consider this. From what Cam knew, Kyle's family wasn't broke, but they also weren't supportive enough of their son to bail him out of jail if the cops were called, as evidenced by the fact that he'd spent all summer on their sofa eating their food while also keeping a room with his parents. If he was arrested, would he have anyone to bail him out? Probably not. "There's someone on the way?" Scarlett asked. "Thank you, officer." "Whatever. You're not even fucking worth it," Kyle sneered. "Cowards." Well, that just stung a little. They were not cowards. But Cam was willing to let it slide in the hopes that peace would be restored soon. "Bye, bruh," Cam said. As Kyle had cleared the door, she slammed it shut and flipped the locks. All of them. With a heavy sigh, she leaned forward so her forehead was touching the wooden panel, and she sighed again for good measure. "Thank you," Scarlett said softly. "I can't believe he fell for that," Cam replied. She let her eyes close for a long moment, processing the stress of the last few minutes. "Well, he's not super bright," Scarlett said. Anger and hurt flared in Cameron's chest. She closed her eyes, the wood still pressing into her skin. "Why? Why did you post the picture? You had to know he was going to do something like that." "It was a cute picture," Scarlett said with a shrug. Cam straightened. "But you had to know, Scarlett. People are going to think we're a couple. Kyle thinks we're a couple. You just said girlfriend." Scarlett had called her girlfriend. Scarlett squirmed uncomfortably. "It's still a cute picture. And we look happy." She had Cameron there. They did look happy. Scarlett looked utterly peaceful, curled against Cameron, gripping her like a favorite stuffed animal. Cameron looked sleepy and content. It was a good picture. "Why did you take the picture?" Scarlett asked softly, "if you didn't want anyone to see it?" Well, that was the rub of it. Cam couldn't very well criticize Scarlett if Cam was also feeling guilty of not admitting her own feelings. Cameron managed to shrug. "I don't know." "Okay, so I'm sorry for posting it to social media without your consent. Are you sorry for taking a picture of me without asking first?" Scarlett asked, and her voice was so gentle Cam blushed. "Yeah, I'm sorry." "Awesome! We're both sorry," Scarlett said with a shrug. She took Cameron's hand and pulled her toward the kitchen. "The rest of it, we can work that out later when we've calmed down. Look, I made pancakes!" And Cameron was going to eat them, even if they looked like roof shingles. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Quaint City by Avery Morstan. If you liked the video, please consider going and listening to some of the other books I've read on stream. I mean, it's not a stream. I don't have a Twitch or anything, but they're really long videos. Anyway, until next time, please make sure you go outside, get a snack, take a walk, take your meds, drink some water, take care of yourself because you are the only you that I have. I'll see you next time. Bye.